In the last episode, I started to look at when measuring your trading strategy's performance using a single performance value such as CAGR over drawdown or profit factor or Van Tharp's system quality number. This is really useful when you're comparing two strategies or maybe comparing the parameter values in an optimization. But what it isn't good at is breaking down the many aspects of what makes up your trading strategy and identifying which of those aspects are working well and which of them are not. So, for example, if the performance of your trading strategy is beginning to degrade compared to what it was in the past, the single performance metric will tell you that this is happening, but it won't tell you why. Is it because of the timing of the trade entries not performing quite as well as they did in the current market conditions? Or is it the exit timing? Maybe you changed your position sizing and the risk that you're using is no longer appropriate, so your drawdowns are increasing in size. Or could it be something that you've changed that means the trade durations are now much less consistent than they were before? And there are many other potential reasons. But the important point here is that a single value metric like SQN or profit factor won't tell you any of this. But fortunately, there is an answer to this problem. And I started to show you last time how the Darwinex platform breaks down the analysis of your trading strategy into 12 individual investable attributes. And in addition to helping potential investors to decide where to place their investment capital, these 12 metrics also mean that traders can investigate which areas of their strategy they need to improve in order to become a better trader. And don't worry, if you use a different broker, that's fine. You can link that account into the Darwinex platform to start getting these metrics for your own system, and that is a really easy process to go through, and I'll show you how to do that later. So in the last episode, I took you through the concept of the Darwinex score, first of all, and then the experience investable attribute. So let's move on now and take a look at some more. So just as a quick reminder, whenever you're looking at a strategy, in order to get into the investable attributes, you just need to click on the tab here. And then in the bar below, you'll firstly see the Darwinex score, which is the overall evaluation of this strategy. And then following this, you'll see the 12 investable attributes listed. So experience that we looked at last time can be accessed here. And the next attribute that we're going to look at is market correlation. Now this is a really interesting one because it looks at the value add that this trader and this strategy is adding above and beyond the underlying movements of the markets that are being traded. Let me explain. Firstly, it looks at how the trader has managed to exploit the movements of each symbol that they've traded. So here, for example, you can see Euro Swiss, Euro CAD, Euro Dollar, and so on for all of those symbols. It then measures what the effect on the trader's equity was for each of those. And then it calculates the correlation between those movements and the movements of the underlying asset itself. But why is this important? Well, if you could have achieved the same or better growth in an equity curve just by simply buying and holding that underlying asset, then it means that the trader isn't adding any value. Whereas if there's a big difference between those two charts, it means that the trader is making active decisions to come into and go out of that market, and so the correlation between them will be much lower, meaning that the trader is adding value. Now, like other investable attributes, this is scored between 0 and 10, and so for this particular strategy you can see that it scores very highly, 9.85, illustrating that this trader genuinely is adding value. Now, like all of the investable attributes, whenever you see this icon here, you can click on that and then click on the links that you see here to get more information from a web page that will go into a lot more detail than I'm going into today. Next, we're going to move on to another attribute called risk stability. And this looks at a measure of risk over time and also over the different positions that the trader has held. And this is based on the metric of VAR, or value at risk. And here you can see that this particular strategy is currently trading with a value at risk of 7.4%. But what you can also see that over the past year, that has been incredibly consistent. And consistency is generally good because it means that Darwinex can now effectively risk manage this particular strategy for investors who are investing their own capital. And the fact that the risk is stable means it's much easier to do that. Let me show you a different strategy here that has a much more variable risk stability. So here you can see that about a year ago, this had a VAR of 10.75, but went down to a minimum here of just 2.15. So that's a factor of 5 difference. And so this is showing less consistency, and of course it also makes it more difficult for the risk management algorithms at Darwinex to be able to adjust the risk suitably for investors. And so you can see here this achieves a score of 7.49, whereas the one that we were looking at before has a score of 9.2. Now, the upper and lower bands here that you see are based on a time-based system whereby it looks at what the maximum and the minimum value of the VAR was, looking back over a set period of time. And so because of that, if this is close together, it means itself that the risk stability has been very consistent. And what you'll notice here is that if the upper and the lower bars have a big range between them, that again is indicative that the risk stability is swinging up and down with more variance. Now, if you're interested, you can see a representation of what all of the scores are across the top here. So by hovering over each of these, you can see what the score is. You'll get a brief explanation of what the investable attribute measures. And you also get color coding. So green if the investable attribute scores highly, going down to orange, yellow, and red for those investable attributes that don't score well. And so this just gives you a really convenient snapshot of the measures within this strategy. So as you can see, by breaking down the scoring of a system into individual attributes, as opposed to just having a single score, can have huge benefits in interpreting the effectiveness of that trading strategy and providing intelligence to the trader to allow them to improve. So be sure to tune in next time when we'll go through a number of other investable attributes. In the meantime, please do click on the link that you see at the top here, which will take you to the Darwinex platform so that you can explore some of these for yourself. Also, please do remember that you can link your existing accounts from another broker into this platform to get these kind of metrics for yourself. And the first thing you need to do in the process to achieve that is to click on this sign up icon that you see at the top right here. Okay, so until next time, trade safe.